Greetings from Las Vegas, or again, technically I guess this is Boulder City, just outside Las Vegas. At the Hoover Dam Lodge again, heading out to visit my mother again in Arizona. Beautiful ride ahead of me, and I thought I did a recent video on this, what happened last weekend. This will be my first leisure ride without any rain involved, and I thought I'd had an interesting subject to talk about while riding out for about, I don't know, I got a 75-mile ride, so I get to have me and my thoughts inside my helmet while I'm doing it. And I had a subject I thought I might address while I'm riding, and it's kind of a strange one. So the question here is, are you a bike bigot? Am I a bike bigot? So to break that down, a bike bigot or a ride racist, or are you a Hog, Honda, Hawk, or Husky hater? Are you a Suzuki supremacist, a Ducati devotee, a Janus jockey, a Beamer dreamer, a Cowie collector? How about an Indian Olympian? Okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. Are you loyal to Royal Enfield? Are you cuckoo for KTM? I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I had those the other day. Still love them. Do you smoke grass with your gas? Are you a street snob or a dirt devil? Do you think cruisers are for losers? And finally, when you were young, did you ask your mommy for a yummy? I think some of us did. And then I guess the other question is, do you just think Triumphs are fantastic because nothing rhymes with Triumph? So anyway, the whole point of this is there's so many options, so many riding possibilities out there, so many brands, so many different styles, dirt, street, sport bikes, cruisers, trikes, electric bikes. There's so many options out there for people who just want to be outside and ride. And sometimes it's a strange situation with who you want to ride with, and it shouldn't be. It's kind of silly. So let's talk about that. Let's hit the road. Beautiful day. It's I think high of around 80 today. Fantastic. We're getting into the sweet spot in the Vegas area for riding. So let's hit the road and kind of talk about this a little bit. All right, here we are. Should get to our destination in about, let's see, 45 minutes, something like that. So it's already partially there. And let's hit it. And you know what? I forgot one of my, I thought of it on the way over here, because I just traded an adventure bike for this thing, which I don't know, some people you could still, I guess, call this an adventure bike, but so you could also say, if your bike is for adventures, does that mean you wear dentures? Oh, that's really bad too. A lot of times the big adventure bikes can be associated with older riders, or I guess more affluent riders, whatever. I certainly enjoyed mine. You get through this traffic circle shenanigans before I can start putting some thoughts together, because that's just too many things to concentrate on at once. We just noticed this today. This must be a whole series of hiking trails up here. Look at all these cars. That is cool. There's a lot to do around here. Oh boy. Looks like I'm not the only one struggling with, well, out-of-state tourists. It's understandable. But man, this is just so cool. Back into parachute mode. Somebody said this in a recent, I don't know if it was a forum discussion or comments on somebody else's video, but yeah, you go from the full fairing motorcycle like a Tiger, like an adventure bike with a full fairing and windscreen, to something like this, basically a naked bike. And you go from no wind at all to now your whole body becomes a parachute. It's like, yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it. A lot more wind noise, obviously. So the whole subject for today, I hear these things occasionally. You know, oh geez, I even thought it at one point. I said, I owned a Harley, I owned a V-Rod, but you know, even that, it was, well, that's not a real Harley. Well, that's not what the logo on the side says. Oh, you know, those are made in Germany. No, they're not. They were made in, what, St. Louis. So Germans, they worked with Porsche to help with the design and keeping it cool. It was Harley's track bike, my understanding at least, that they wanted to turn into something that they could sell for people to, you know, I think it was a little bit of a way to compete with some of the sport bike crowd a little bit, but you know, a little faster. It was their first liquid cooled bike. It was beautiful. I love that thing. I'll have to try and remember to throw some photos of that up. Man, that was fun. Fast. It was premium, and but it was not good for long distance. I rode down to 29 Palms with a friend of mine. He was on his Kawasaki Z1000, a nice upright seating position on that bike, and here I am all stretched out like a clamshell or something. My arms way, you know, drag bike. Arms are way forward, feet are stuck out forward, no opportunity to bring them back. Yikes. That was when I started realizing that was great for around town. It was super pretty, fast, fun, but not good for distance. Seeing it's nice, like what he's got there. He's got the highway bars up front, and that's smart. I mean, part of it is if you're going long distance, you don't want to have your knees in the exact same position for the whole ride, so you put the highway bars out there. That gives you an opportunity to stretch out and you know, keep your knees from cramping up, stuff like that. And I'll probably, maybe, I don't know, I'm going to put crash bars on this thing definitely soon. I just have to figure out which one still. Maybe attach some highway pegs to that. The other part nice about this one is you can, with this long seat, you can adjust your seating position back and forth to change the angle of your knees. And standing. I mean, that's another part that on adventure bikes and bikes like this, you just stand once in a while. That's how you stretch your knees out. And my thing was, I used to ride a dirt bike with friends in the desert for 4, 5, 6 hours. And it was awesome. And you get home, and you still feel, instead of feeling all tired and worn out and like, oh my God, I'm so glad that's over. No, you're full of energy and you're going, I'm ready for some more, man. Give me some more. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that riding position on that dirt bike, maybe that's what suits me, because my body is just like, you know,
soaking it up and loving it and wanting more. So that's essentially what I have now on this Scrambler. So there's like I say, so many options out there. I even did a little sappy music video with an AI generated song about this. I started riding a bicycle when I was 5 years old in Greenbush, Michigan, and eventually we moved. That's in a little bit more northern Michigan. Eventually we moved downstate, and in Brighton, Michigan, around age, I don't know, 10, let's say, I think that's when it was, I finally got permission to ride Beyond the Driveway. That's what the song was called, Freedom Beyond the Driveway. And it was so liberating, and this feeling of freedom and adventure. And we had Brighton at the time. It's still a great place, but at the time it was somewhat smaller. Of course, everything was somewhat smaller in 1980, and you could ride around and explore the town just all over the place, and that was amazing. And that kind of planted this seed, and me and my brother and my friends would ride our bikes around everywhere, and it didn't matter who was with you. If you're riding your sister's pink bicycle with a basket because there's something wrong with your bicycle, or if somebody's parents can't afford 2 bicycles, so you gotta share, or I'm on a BMX bike, you're on a 10-speed, who cares? You're all out there riding together, you're all friends, you're all having fun, you're all exploring. It's just all about that freedom of being outside and exploring and going wherever you want. You don't tell mom and dad about everything because they probably don't want to know, depending on just what kind of stuff you're doing. And unfortunately, it took another 10 years before I got my first motorcycle. I was 20 years old, stationed in Maryland at Fort Meade with the Army. And I think it was a little Honda Shadow 500, I think is what it was, a used one. And my buddy and I, he was on a Suzuki Cruiser, I think it was an Intruder, maybe, something like that. And we would flip a coin on the map in that area, and whatever old Civil War site was closest to where the coin landed, that's where we would go on the weekends. It felt like that 10-year-old kid again, getting out there and exploring. Oh my gosh. And again, who cares what we're riding? We're just out there loving life. So I continued that for a while, and then eventually got out of the military. My grandfather gave me, he had an old Honda 125 that he used to put on the back of a camper. As retirees, they would drive around the United States pulling a camper behind a truck, and then, or a big Oldsmobile, and then he put a little 125 on the back of the camper so him and my grandmother could go explore without having to unhook the camper. I just thought that was the coolest thing. I used to, as a child, he had that bike. He had a couple of them. And I used to go in his garage and sit on that thing and just pretend like a kid. You make the noises. The snowmobile, same thing. Snowmobile and the motorcycle. You go in the garage, sit on them. Fantastic. Oh, there goes that fantastic word again. So that seed was planted. I knew how much I liked to ride the bicycles and explore around wherever I could. My father had, a big, I think it was a CB 750 that he used to ride. And also I kind of idolized that concept as well. And now, of course, my father was in a horrible accident. Essentially, he got hit by a drunk driver and it snapped his leg right off. They had to reattach his leg. Horrible, horrible accident. And that was around the time I was around 5 years old, I think. My grandparents were hit by an impaired driver, somebody on drugs. They ran through an intersection and smashed right into them, and they were both injured. So I'm not delusional. I know that there's risk that goes along with this, but so as time goes by, I finally got introduced into dirt riding, and that's a whole new world too, because now every time you look off to the left, I'm doing it right now, man, I wonder where that little power line road goes. I wonder if that's rideable, and it's got to be rideable because the service trucks have to be able to get out to it. I can see some little trails or roads over here. There's always something nearby that you can explore, whether it's paved roads or dirt. So the drive to go out and explore just never goes away. And the more you feed it, the stronger it gets. And I've been feeding it a lot lately. So you hear sometimes, like, I used to think this, well, geez, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to get, that's one of the reasons I got the V-Rod was because before that I had a Yamaha V-Star, a cruiser. It was really pretty, basically a Harley clone, and really comfortable, but it was a total dog, so slow. That was, I think, my first new bike purchase. My buddy even told me, he goes, man, you're going to regret this. And I did. Within a day or two, realized it was a mistake. So eventually I traded that for the Harley. But even with the Harley, I was thinking, if I get a Harley, does that mean I got to start wearing different clothes and, $100 HD t-shirts everywhere? And man, I don't want to be that guy who's, here I am in, I'm saying that, and I'm in 100% climb gear right now. It's like I'm just it's no different. Once you become a fan or sucked into something, it's whatever. And then it was, if I get the V-Rod, is it going to be, the Harley people are going to be, well, it's not a real Harley. You ride with somebody else. Fortunately, that was not the case, and I still rode with my buddies on the big cruisers, and we had a lot of good times on that. Of course, my back was always killing me by the time we were over because of the riding position on it. But there's a tow truck. And then I got the adventure bike. I didn't even know that was a category. So, and part of that was I'm riding out to my mother's place in Arizona. She lives on a dirt road. I realized, all right, that's enough with this V-Rod. It's ridiculous. It's completely unsuited for driving on dirt roads. It's not the right tool for the job, so I got a KTM 1190 Adventure R, and I think this is it. I did some research. Adventure bikes are typically, aside from Gold Wings, adventure bikes are typically regarded as the most comfortable riding bikes, period, and you can take them on and off road. Sweet, awesome. Unfortunately, as it was a used KTM, it was filled with nothing but problems. In and out of the shop constantly. So eventually that got traded in, and I ended up with a big Tiger 1200 Rally Explorer. Oh my God. That's it's like the big BMW GS or the Ducati Multistrada. Those are like, the Cadillacs of touring. If you want to be able to tour long distance and also have the option of going on dirt roads without worrying about wiping out so much. And I loved it. And I know there's a bit of a stigma on those, that it's like, oh, you look like you're riding on a transformer. When's it going to transform into something else? Or, I don't know, or, your motorcycle looks like a snowmobile, or all those other crazy things. I'm like, I don't care, because it's awesome. and it's fast. And it's 150 horsepower on that thing. It gobbles up the highway like nothing. Incredible. But I was terrified. I took it on a dirt road one time, just a regular dirt road, and it was no big deal. But man, the idea of taking it on anything that gets at all technical ever, I'm not that guy. I'm not that skilled. So that terrified me. So it wasn't really a one-trick pony, but it did kind of leave me feeling like I was pigeonholed a little bit on that into just, highway riding. So went out and got a little 400 Scrambler to do the trails. Because after a pretty serious knee injury, I wasn't up for full-blown hard enduro anymore. I'm trying to prevent myself from being too stupid about stuff like that. Husqvarna 701 Enduro is the best motorcycle I ever had previously. It probably always will be, but that's the one I hurt myself on, and it's so much power and so versatile. It's one of those unicorn bikes. But I don't think I want to take that if I want to ride to Reno or Lake Tahoe from Vegas, or even just riding back and forth to work. It just felt a little weird. So the Scrambler, the little 400 Scrambler, was the in-between for that. And now I'm hoping that this bridges the gap between both of those, and this might be a single machine for multi-use. And I'm going to take it out on the trails is a little bit of a stretch. I'm going to take it to the national park north of town on some dirt roads tomorrow and see how she does. So I like to say, if you show up to ride with your buddies and they say, bro, what are you doing with that adventure bike? This is a group of Harleys, or vice versa, or I don't know, whatever, then they're not really your buddies. Your real buddies, you show up on something that they're not crazy about, they'll make fun of you, you give them the finger, you all laugh, and you go riding. Just like that kid on his sister's pink bicycle that shows up, and everybody goes, what are you doing on your sister's pink bicycle? And you go, I'm riding. Let's go explore. All right, let's go. So that's what it really boils down to, is who cares what people think or how you look or what anybody else's perception is about what you're riding. Just get out there and do it. Hell, I wouldn't mind having a electric motorcycle, one of those Zeros or something like that. But I just can't see the point right now in something that is as a daily. You could take it back and forth to work and charge it at home at night. Okay, that I could see that. But do you really need to spend $6,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 on something that you can only take back and forth to work? I don't really get that. It's get the range up to 200 or 300 miles on those, and the charging time down to 10 minutes, and you got to market. But right now, that's just not the situation. That's not the case. Or if you do get one that has that kind of capacity, they're $30,000. It's like, come on, man. So anyway, ultimately, in the end, to use an overused old saying, can't we all just get along? I think most of the mature riders will agree that if you got the right connection with the right group of people, nobody cares what you show up on. They just want you to show up. It's about spending time with people, not about being judged for what you showed up in. We even had an old example. My wife used to run a Camaro club, started back in 2010. And one of the people that we would always hang out with us, Paul, had, I think it was a Pontiac Solstice. I'm not sure if I have that right, but I think that's right. It's a little two-seater Pontiac, cute little car. And whenever we would go, we used to do cruises a lot. That was a very active club 15 years ago. And every now and then, some of the other members, it was a Camaro club, and when you stopped to do pictures, they'd get all butthurt because Paul's car is mixed in with the rest of them. You know, Paul, or they, Paul, you're going to need to park on the end because, you know, this is a Camaro group and you're ruining our photos. And Lori would essentially go over and say, Paul's staying, he's with us. If you have a problem with that, you leave. So, I love that. And again, it was about, you all come together under a certain, you know, a common interest, like in that case, the cars, but eventually you all become friends. And then it's not so much about the specific brand of car, it's about hanging out with your friends and going and exploring and having adventures with them. Oh boy, roadkill. Oh, yeah, I remember that from a while back. It's still there and it's still stinky. And even to this day, we still hang out with friends that originated in car clubs. And most of them don't have Camaros anymore. We've all, you know, who cares? Every now and then, we'll go out and cruise with Corvette clubs. I have a video on that not too long ago. And those guys are cool. They're just like, you know, yeah, there's a lot of people with Corvettes and they're organizing this run, but more the merrier. Everybody's invited. Come on along and let's go ride and have some fun. So, yeah, I guess that's ramble over. And, I guess we have to slow down because these guys are going really slow up here. So, with that, I don't know if I made a particularly good point of all this or not, but just get out there and ride and enjoy yourself and don't worry about whatever anybody else thinks of you. And you don't need to be worrying about what other people are riding. Give them a little wave as you go by. And what's going on here? And just get out there and have fun. So, I'm going to wrap this one up. Beautiful ride today. This Scrambler 1200 it's just glorious. I'm loving it. And I look forward to many more videos, highway travels, dirt road explorations on this thing. So until next time, drive carefully and come back soon.